tonight is a makeup artist, beauty expert, educator, and I want to let her introduce herself in her own way, but welcome to the show, Donna Mee.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
We're so glad to have you.
For those of you who have never heard of me, I've been doing makeup for 31 years now. It's hard to swallow. A lot of people that are my age in the business just like to say over 20 because it makes us not sound as old, but I know I look good for my age. I know I look good for my age, so I don't have a problem with it.
There you go.
But what I specialize in is corrective beauty makeup, mostly for print is what I do now. But I also like to think I specialize in teaching the advanced methods that I've developed. So, you know, a lot of people don't really know what corrective makeup is, but a lot of people think it has something to do with camouflage or, you know, paramedical makeup or stuff like that. And it really has nothing to do with the medical makeup, although you can utilize it in that field. Corrective makeup is creating a different illusion of bone structure or ideally making everyone more attractive, more to what the epitome of beauty is.
What do you like to teach the most?
Oh, that's hard to say. There's so much. Gosh. I mean, corrective makeup is, you know, my love and my passion because, you know, like I said, I've developed the methods that, you know, they don't exist otherwise. A lot of makeup artists go, I know that. And then I'll ask them a certain question. I go, I don't know that. So that is a big deal. But in order to master that, you really have to know and understand skin. And so many makeup artists don't. You know, they just hand people, you know, baby wipes to wipe off their face and stuff. You know, I always say, you can't do that to a celebrity. The celebrity's going to, like, kick you in the crotch if you hand them a baby wipe to wipe off their face. You know, so I teach so much about skin, you know, and it's what's necessary, at least for a makeup artist to know, and how to analyze it correctly, therefore, which, you know, how to prep their face and what moisturizer you use is going to give a different result. Therefore, you can use this foundation after all, or you couldn't have, you know, that kind of thing. So skin is really one of my loves. I've had so many people say, you know, you need to do your own makeup line and whatnot, and ideally, you know, it's been on my to-do list for 15 years. But I would honestly do a skincare line first. So skincare, corrective, but then against the advanced print work, you know, techniques that I teach, so you really don't have to depend on Photoshop. I don't know anyone else who teaches any of that. I have been to so many trainings myself, and I've never seen anyone who knew so many of the little things that I've figured out. Part of why my graduates are so successful. They come out with, you know, anytime you leave school, you're always not sure of how good you are or what you know, but once they start working, you know, in the real world with other artists, they instantly realize, wow, I know that. I knew better than that. I didn't do that, you know. So my grads have a very high success rate. I totally have the highest success rate in all of the United States.
So what advice do you have for makeup artists that are just starting out?
Well, besides, you know, getting images of your work and studying your work, to really own it. You can't learn and grow until you've made a mistake to learn and grow from. And so many people have that fear of making a mistake that they just never do it, you know. A lot of times my most talented, skill-wise graduates are the ones who are the most scared to get out there. You know, like they say, ignorance is bliss. The ones who have the lowest scores are usually out there working and shooting and testing and get their tear sheets first very often. So it doesn't always happen that way, but just, you know, to have faith. If you're passionate about something, that usually means you're already pretty good at it.
Right.
But I challenge people to become good at it, be willing to make that mistake so you can learn and grow. Like a lot of people go, oh, the model skin was horrible. I don't even want to see the pictures from the shoot. It's like, no, absolutely. It doesn't matter. You can still tell good or bad makeup from a bad model, from bad photography. You can still learn from your own craft. So, you know, don't just look at it. Print that picture. Put it on your dresser and look at it and own what you did wrong, or you're just going to do it again. And so many people don't do that. It's so, you know, we're such an instant gratification society now that nobody wants to go there. The negative thing is just so not comfortable for people. But I think it's a huge part of learning. When somebody screws up, you know, in my class, it's kind of like, yay! I'd much rather you learn that lesson here than on a real world in the paid job. Right. That would be pretty embarrassing. So be thankful you just learned that, because you're never going to do that again. And I'm like, was like, let's celebrate, you screwed up, yay! So I don't know. I think that's some of my best advice, and just to practice. A lot of people think, well, I started to do it because I thought I was really good at it. Now I learned there's so much more to it than I thought. I don't know if I'm passionate. Well, you got to master it at that level then. You know, now that you know there's more to it, you should be motivated to master it. You know, but I teach from the scientific level, very, you know, it's not just the art of it. Most trainers will say, oh, this is the way I like to do a smoky eye. You know, and those kind of words don't ever come out of my mouth. It's like, you know, your attention goes to here on a face. That is a fact. Therefore, downward angles, you know, are considered unattractive. So your thing has to end in an upward angle. Your mind also follows gradient colors. So see where this gradient ends, and it's pointing down. And if you blended it up like this, just do a little technique, and they're like, oh, look how different. You know, my students are always saying, you barely touched it, and it's so much better. It's like, yeah, that's the science of it. It just is. Because we go at such a fast pace. I mean, a lot of, when Kevin Agwan was alive, him and his boyfriend at the time, Eric Salkas, they used to refer people to my academy because, you know, there were so many schools out there that just weren't doing anything. And I used to work with Kevin backstage Fashion Week in the day, and he, you know, knew that I knew my stuff. So that was quite an honor to have, you know, that happen.
Nice. So how many students do you have at your school at one particular time?
It is right now, for example, our semester, we're in advanced semester, we have 11.
Oh, okay.
So they're very small classes. I don't do the 30, 40, 50, 60 people in a room like most of the, you know, schools in which you don't really learn anything, you know. And even if 10 students, it is so hard once they're doing hands-on to get around and give them the critical feedback and advice and show them how to do it better and differently in a way that they can even understand it. It's so hard to rotate the room more than a few times, you know?
Right.
So the schools that have 50, 60 people, you know, I have had graduates several times that finished some of those other schools, you know, in LA, and, you know, realized they didn't know they didn't learn anything until they went on the set and were humiliated. And, you know, not many people can afford to reinvest in education, start over with student loans, but, you know, some rich kids every once in a while would, and they're just, you know, blown away at what a different experience it is.
Right.
But, you know, with 60 people in a room, you know, they're lucky if the instructor just said, hey. One girl particularly used to say, you know, I would stand there and say, Mrs. Jones, I need help. And the instructor would just yell at me like, if you call me one more time, I'm not coming there for a week. You know, and I thought, but, you know, that's people who are, you know, don't really know what they're doing. They don't know what to say when they get there. So they just go, oh, that's pretty. How'd you know to use that color? You know, where... You know, I hate to say I beat my kids up, but they're aware. You're paying me to point out what's wrong because you can't see it or you wouldn't have done it. You're paying me to hone your eye to see how to do better. And a lot of them get to that point, like, I see it, but my hand won't agree with it. My hand isn't there yet. So sometimes you get it in your head, but it takes a while for your hand to catch up.
Right.
But my goal always for my academy was to improve the quality of makeup artists, not the quantity. You know, I say I'd close my doors before I just did this for money. You know, obviously I'm a business. But it's not about money for me. It was about because people were begging me to do it.
Right. Donna, what is beauty to you?
What is beauty to me? Gosh, that's a good question because it depends on, I mean, I guess the answers could be so enormous and vast, but I think the power of somebody's beauty is what it's all about. You know, how women feel about their own reflection in the mirror is everything to their life experience. You know, I'm sure we've all done women who, you know, cried because they felt so pretty. And I challenge makeup artists to say, oh, yeah, that happened to me once. It's like, why doesn't it happen to you every day? You know, I love doing celebrity work and stuff. And, you know, it's more fun to talk about than it typically is to do because we're kind of low man on the totem pole. We don't always get treated as nice as everyone wants to pretend. But, you know, I'll take doing Susie Q in a trailer park any day over a celebrity booking, you know, because it's just such a different experience. You know, I mean, you know, I've worked on supermodels. I mean, you know, at one point Cindy Crawford was like, wow, like, I look amazing. It's like, no kidding, you're friggin' Cindy Crawford. But, you know, she's like, no, I don't always think my makeup is amazing, trust me. And I thought, okay, that's a pretty big compliment coming from Cindy in the day when she was a supermodel in the 90s, you know, when she's had her makeup done 80 million times.
Right.
So, but, I mean, even for that being her, I mean, she was on set, and she's like, I was on fire today because I just felt so awesome. And it made me realize, you know, what does that say about the everyday woman who's never liked her own reflection in the mirror?
Mm-hmm.